All right, so this morning I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to take someone to the airport, and I didn't realize what the world looked like from being inside of a car at that hour. In fact, I found out two different things: how to use my headlights and how to fix my radio at that hour, something I haven't been able to do in a couple of weeks. But with that said, I asked this question to Google a few months back and it pretended like it didn't understand. Like the answer that it gave me was a complete and total redirect, no matter how I asked this question. So I asked GPT this question: what's a desperation job? Typically refers to a job that someone takes out of necessity rather than desire or passion. People often take these jobs when they're in a difficult financial situation, have limited options, or need immediate income. Here are some common characteristics of a desperation job you didn't realize that you signed up for. So, I have about 8 talking points, and they are all 100% applicable to my current job and my assistant's job as well. So, the desperation job typically has very low pay, minimal compensation, barely enough to cover basic living expenses. Now, how many of us live at in this bracket? Remember that $15 to $20 is considered low pay regardless of where you are. The closer you are to the $15 to $20 bracket, the more likely that you're not making it financially. And one of my favorite things that ChatGPT said today about being in a low paying situation is just the first thing it tells you to do: ask your boss for a promotion or a raise. Desperation jobs don't come with that button. Unfortunately, they're just waiting for the next sucker to come along and be a desperation worker. This also means that they have a lack of fulfillment. The work may not align with person's skills, interest, or long-term career goals. There are no long-term career goals when you're working at McDonald's. You're putting the fries in the bag, little bro. That's all you're doing. A lack of fulfillment describes 99.9% of all the jobs on Indeed right now. And guess where the corporation, my current Evil Corp, loves to advertise its jobs? It's where I found my current job, on Indeed. Because a lack of fulfillment means that they don't care if it has no long term career goals. In fact, everyone that I work with currently in the technology has no way of being promoted. Everyone is still making the exact same amount that they were making 3 years ago. And what's happened since 3 years ago? Our rent's gone up by up to 40%. Our food has tripled. Transportation costs are sky high. And yet, here we are. Talking point number three: poor working conditions. Desperation jobs might have unfavorable working conditions such as long hours, little to no benefits, and extremely high stress. Poor working conditions isn't just the disgusting ceiling tiles, it's the stress that comes along with it because they won't hire enough people to do all the work. Instead, they live by slogans like this one, this horrible one from Walmart: do more with less. That means double, triple, quadruple the load of your employees and then watch them burn out as they hit stress levels and deep financial problems at the same time. The stress doesn't match the money. It doesn't matter how you try to scale that back if you're not going to have enough workers. When one person calling out causes everyone to have to do more work because now you have to do all the work of the person who didn't show up because they're not as desperate as you are. They didn't need that extra money in order to barely cover their bills. And it's a disgusting thing that you see when working in retail all of the time, is that there are people who are more desperate than others who don't take the job seriously. And because they're either not picking up the slack, or because you find yourself in a situation where you are doing multiple jobs simultaneously. That's my current job. Multiple jobs simultaneously, which causes high stress. And when I get a lazy Gen Z worker, guess what? I have to pick up the slack for that person too, or else I have to keep hearing it from management. It's like, why isn't this getting done? I'm like, I just don't have time. And when you tell your employer that you don't have time, they give you this look on their face, this like distorted look on their face, like they don't understand. It's like, well, why are you so lazy, millennial Sting? I've heard that a lot. That's one of the main reasons why I'm looking for another job. Is that look of disgust on the employee's face when when they're stressed out of their minds. They're beyond burnt out. The poor work conditions just make the place a living hell to be at. Moving on to my next talking point, limited growth opportunities. These jobs often have little room for career advancement. This is the second time we're hearing no career advancement. They're dead end jobs, and they know it. They can't advertise them that way. That's why when they bring you into the interview for all of these crummy jobs, they make it seem like you're going places. I remember when I started working at the call center, and they would tell you that your profit from your job is limitless. And you just kind of get in there and you look around. It's like, well, wasn't there someone sitting over there this morning? And how about over there? Why are those seats all empty over there? Why are 12 people getting up at the same time and walking out of this place? Why are there daily interviews here? Because these jobs have zero growth possibilities. They're just dead end crappy jobs that not just, the question that I asked ChatGPT before this was what's considered a high school job? Every single high school job meets this criteria. And the big one was working in retail. Moving on to our next talking point, overqualification. The person may be overqualified for the position, taking it because it's only option available rather than because it aligns with their experience or education. I've had many people tell me that retail has turned them down because they had a graduate degree or a 4-year university degree because they don't want people that have options. They're there for the desperation worker. And the more desperate, the more you're oozing desperation out of your pores, the better. That was me after getting out of college in 2017. When I showed up at Walmart looking for a job with my fresh 4 liberal arts college degrees, they could smell desperation. I was days away from becoming homeless, and that's what they wanted. They didn't care about my education. They wanted to know that I was going to show up the next day. And being overqualified in this economy is absolutely absurd. But most of us are. Unless you're that high school kid that's 16 years old, chances are you're overqualified for every single bottom level job. And I am going to do that high school jobs video later. It just didn't seem like it had the right stuff. I wasn't in the mood to do that video, so that's why I jumped over to Desperation rather than high school jobs. Eh, It is a temporary solution, often seen as a stopgap measure. People take these jobs while they're searching for something better or until the financial situation improves. What do you do when your financial situation doesn't improve? You get out of high school, you're still working in that grocery store, you're still at Kroger's. You burn through all your 20s, you're still at Kroger's. You hit 35 years old, you're still a virgin, you're still living at home, you still can't afford to drive your own car, and girls laugh at you because you spent all your adult life in that same Kroger's. I talk to this guy, I would say every other day, and I ask him when he's going to leave. His answer to that is only the good workers leave Kroger's. All the crap stays for life. And I mean, I've seen people working there for 25 years with the same psychotic mentality about working in a Kroger's. Your temporary solution isn't a temporary. There, I mean, I just saw a man. Where was it? I was at Kroger's, the one up on Ray and Rural yesterday. This man had to be in his 80s. I kid you not, he was on his hands and knees yesterday when I walked up to him and asked him where the water section was, because this is a larger than normal Kroger's that I don't typically shop in because it's in a nice neighborhood. And the little old man just looked at me, aisle 13. That's all he had to say. He didn't say hello, he didn't smile, he didn't even turn around and look at me. He is going to, that's where they're going to find him. Where I saw him is probably where he's going to lead to take his last breaths on earth. If you're 80 years old and you're stocking shelves, it's not a temporary solution anymore. A lot of these dead end jobs, these minimum wage jobs, these desperation jobs are going to people that are turning them into what they're not. These aren't careers. They don't build wealth. They don't allow home ownership. They don't allow you to have a relationship. And they're there. They need to be filled by high school students because as I've heard throughout my entire life, no one should be working at McDonald's except for high school students. Everyone else can do better. And you and I both know that's a blatant lie that's told to people because these are the same people that will tell you any job is a good job. In fact, I still look at the face of a woman who told me during the pandemic that she would do anything in the world rather than having to take unemployment during the pandemic. She told me she would scrub toilets, she, do whatever it takes. And you can interpret that as anything you want. But anything you want is what she says she would do in order to avoid having to live off unemployment benefits. That's the disdain that conservative people and libertarians have towards any public service in this country. They want no one getting a handout. They don't believe in things like that. They consider you to be subhuman if you have to ask for assistance, where desperation jobs, minimum wage jobs are staying with people into their 30s and 40s and beyond. Our final talking point here is the high turnover. Desperation jobs typically have high turnover rates because employees leave as soon as they find anything better. At my current job, it takes forever to get onboarded, regardless of the position. It's a school. It has to do checks, education, credit, um, every kind of background check that you can imagine. And there are people who will go through that entire process, get a company computer, and be ready to start their first day in an orientation or training, and they find something better. And everyone in that's been doing this for years acts like they just don't understand what's going on here. We're giving people the opportunity for employment. And I've been in these jobs where the hiring manager just can't understand why they can't hold on to anyone good. When I worked at Walmart, the general manager said that every day. Why does no one good apply to this job? Why are all the good workers somewhere else? Because all the good workers aren't desperation workers. That's why. And so when these people, and I see it every day as part of my current job, I see overqualified people come into jobs that are so far beneath them that you wonder why no one scratched their head and thought, why would someone with a master's degree take an entry level sales job that has 150% turnover? There is not a single manager in sales that was there last year this year. Why? It is a stressful piece of junk desperation job. And the second, that you're making more money at In N Out Burgers, flipping burgers, than you do in entry level sales positions, because these jobs are a torture on you, because you're wearing a headset all day long and all you're doing is you're trying to convince people to give up their money. And it's a lesson in futility. You're calling 100 people a day asking them to pay for something that they don't need and they don't want. And chances are they feel like you're trying to scam them. But that's what it is. High turnover jobs. In fact, when I was talking to Mello yesterday, even at her current job, they can't get anyone in their 20s to do that job. It's long hours, it's hard work, and it's considered a desperation job. You're in a grocery store. So, what do I put into toxic positivity? How annoyed I am by people who walk into your desperation job and say stupid things like this. Here's a tip: get a better job. And that's the end of the conversation. Get a better job. Now, you're saying this to a 30 something person who went to college. That's my take on this. Because even my Gen Z worker right now, there's no way he can get a better job. Mentally, he's unfit. Experience wise, he's unfit. When I hear about his work history, he's unfit. But yet, you still have people that will walk into your work on a daily basis and make fun of you, humiliate you on top of humiliation, dehumanize you because you're in a job that's you took out of desperation. I didn't work at Kroger's or Walmart or that call center or that warehouse or my current job because I had options. When people tell me that I need to get a better job right now, I just look at them and I think to myself, I've been out there. I've applied for thousands of jobs over my lifetime. I've had single digit interviews for all of those applications that I've submitted throughout my life. And to tell people repeatedly in the media, they are constantly telling us about the booming economy and how everyone is getting rich. And yet the reality is the standard job isn't there to make you rich. It's there for you to stay there long enough in order to find something better. That's all it is. And when 99% of jobs are all this crap, the poor working conditions, the lack of fulfillment, being overqualified, temporary, and high turnover, this isn't work anymore. A job used to mean something. A job used to mean marriage, a mortgage, a nice car, and possibly retirement before you're 1,000 years old. That doesn't mean anything anymore. When you can give a grown person a Happy Meal toy in the workplace as motivation to work harder, the regular job has lost all meaning. You are a plantation person, and the plantation owners only see you as labor. And you know what they say? Labor should be free.